if you do the right things. So cancer is not genetic, except in a few cases. It's mostly epigenetic. How many here know what epigenetics is? We know what genetics are. That's the blueprint of our body, right? Carved in stone. That's who we are. That's the computer of our body. The computer. That's the hardware. Where's the software? You can't run the hardware without the software, and the software better be pretty good, right? The epigenetics is the software. That's the physiology of the body. We know our anatomy, right? This is my head. These are my eyes. Here's my stomach. Here's my liver. We know all of this. That's the anatomy. What's the physiology? That's all the stuff that takes place in your body. All the interactions. All the pathways that course through your body. Hormonal, enzyme pathways, detoxification pathways. All the chemical reactions that take place in your body. That's your epigenetics, your physiology. Well, guess what? If it's not working too well, how are you going to be? Not too well. When that starts to go sideways, you're going to get sick. You could get cancer. You could get heart disease, diabetes. All of these things. Because your body is inflamed. Your body is acidic. So we need to take care of our epigenetics, or we need to repair them. So cancer, in effect, is our body going sideways, cells multiplying out of control. They're no longer dying the way that they're supposed to. That's called planned programmed death, apoptosis. They're not doing that anymore. They're growing out of control. That's cancer. It's because they're living in an acidic and inflamed environment. That's because we have allowed our epigenetic systems of our body, because of what we eat, what we drink, what we put on in our bodies, the chemicals, the radiation, the Wi-Fi, the computer routers, the cell towers, our cell phones. Seen kids 2 years old have one of these. You know their skulls aren't formed yet? So when they put it right here, it has direct access to their brain. Why do kids have brain cancer? We got to be smarter than this. Radiation. Back to epigenetics. Cancer is epigenetic. There's something we can do about that. We repair the epigenetic systems in our body, our immune system strengthens. So it's not one thing, it's a series of things that we do to basically bring our body back into balance. That's that homeostasis we talk about. But it's out of whack when we're sick. We should know this. Doctors will say, well, yeah, we're not sure what's wrong, but here, this drug is what we've given for this thing, but we really don't know what's wrong with you. Boy, oh yeah, I want that guy to treat me. I don't think so. Like I said, for virtually every symptom you have, there is something natural that can help you. Almost universally. We need to think about these things. We need to think about epigenetics and how we repair our epigenetics. We know how to do that today. We have supplements that are epigenetic. In other words, they work on that level. They are so full of nutrition that they bombard the body. They soak the body in nutrition. The nutrition that is good and that our body needs. We have special water, right? That is full of antioxidants. How many people here have smelled a newborn baby? It smells good, doesn't it? It's because the baby's born alkaline. How many people have walked into a restroom? Restroom. Yeah, it smells bad, I know. But a rest home. Smells bad, right? Why? Acid. We spend our lives taking these alkaline bodies that God has given us and turn them acidic by what we eat, what we drink. Again, all the chemicals, all the radiation, they're going to turn our body acidic. And what happens when that happens? Acid begets what? Inflammation. Inflammation begets what? Pain, sickness, and disease. That's how it works. So why don't we walk that backwards? We've got that now. How do we get rid of it? Walk it backwards. Put the stuff in our body that is going to eliminate that, that is going to get rid of the acidity, hence get rid of the inflammation, get rid of the pain, bring the bodies back to alkaline. You think? I think so. That's how it works. Why don't doctors know this?
They're not trained.
They're not trained. They're not trained to do that. I talked to a guy named Al Dosh once, and then I talked to his wife later. She gave me the real story. No, Al Dosh is a South Dakota sheep shearer. You know what a sheep shearer is? They lift those sheep up, slam them, they shear the sheep, take the wool off. It's a pretty hard job, pretty physical job. Well, Al hurt his knee one time doing that, hurt his right knee. And he was out of work because it just wasn't getting any better. And so someone said, Al, take this supplement. It's really good. I want you to take this. I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. And so Al said, okay, what have I got to lose? So he started just bombing his body with this supplement. And guess what? The old knee starts getting better and better and better, and finally he went back to work. And about a year later, he hurt his other knee. And he went to the doctor, and because he really hurt it bad, and the doctor says, well, let's take a look at it. So they did the x-rays and everything. He says, let me do the other knee too, because I know you hurt that one before. So the one he recently hurt, he says, well, you know, that one's okay. It's going to get better. You're going to be fine. The one you'd hurt a year ago, you have cancer in your knee. It comes all the way up to your hip, and you have to have that leg amputated immediately. And he says, well, wait, that leg doesn't bother me anymore. It's fine. He says, no, the cancer is thick in there. It's all in and through there. You've got to have that leg amputated. We're going to send you to the Mayo Clinic and see what they say. So he went to the Mayo Clinic. They said the same thing. That leg has to come off, and it has to come off now, immediately. He says, no way. He went home, and he bombed his body again with this supplement. A year later, he was up at 10,000 feet in the Rockies hunting elk with no sign of cancer in his body. And the doctor said they had to amputate that leg. He says, I'm well, I have no cancer, and I've got both of my legs. Isn't that a great story? I love those stories. And they're true. Well, I talked to his wife later because I had asked Al, I said, you must have done everything right. And he says, nah, I was eating burgers and fries and shakes. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And taking that supplement? He says, oh, I took a lot of that supplement. I said, how'd you get away with that? I said, I don't know. I just took a lot of that supplement. I talked to his wife later, and he says, yeah, he drank beer too. I don't advise that. As we know, there's some people who can get away with that. George Burns could smoke cigars until he was 100 years old. You know? There's some people that say, my secret was that I had a cigar a day and I had a shot of whiskey every day, and I lived to be 101. Now that could be genetic. And we know that generally people with good genes, or longevity genes, shall we say, telomeres, long telomeres, will have a tendency to live longer. And again, it depends on what their lifestyles are like, but who can say? You know, some people will do that and live to be 100. And yet this gal who was younger and said she had done everything right got cancer, and she wanted to know why. You know what? I've seen this a lot. Can I tell you exactly why? No. But we're to the stage in our country today where no one can be guaranteed not to get cancer, no matter what you do. But you know what? Most people who do the right things don't get it. And most people with it who do the right things get rid of it. We know that. And that's the hope that we must have. That if we do get it, regardless of how we treated ourselves, that there is an opportunity to heal. And I really believe that. That's why I'm standing in front of you today. Because we have seen literally thousands and thousands of people get well who weren't supposed to. Isn't that great? That's just such a great thing. So it's 1 in 2. 1 in 3 men, 1 in 2 women. It's probably more than that. It's at least 1 in 2. And maybe 2 in 3 now. That's just the way that it is. And you know why that is? We've already discussed some of the reasons why. What we haven't discussed a lot is this thing that we're talking about right here. I have a new phone, so I don't have the bio dot on the back of this one. I need to get one to put on there. How do we ameliorate radiation? You have Wi-Fi here? Yeah. You go to Starbucks, you go to a restaurant, you go anywhere, there's Wi-Fi there, isn't there? Cell towers everywhere. And you know what? It's about to get worse. You've heard of the new 5G? Yep. You know what that is? More. Millimeter wave. It goes right through you. But it doesn't go through buildings well, so they need these antennas virtually every 1,000 feet or so. They're putting up thousands of new antennas on every building everywhere, and they're launching 20,000 new satellites. It'll be the death of us unless we do something about it. What are we going to do? How do you get away from that? I know, the tinfoil hats. I've got one. We can't live in a Faraday cage where we're completely shielded. We can't. We need to continue to live. So what do? Anybody know? Anybody have any ideas?
Diodes.
Huh?
Diodes.
Diodes? What are you going to do with the diodes? There are things that can harmonize the radiation. You're exactly right. Or ameliorate it or dissipate the radiation. And we're finding more and more things. You can actually get these clear pyramids that do the same thing on a whole floor of your house as well. So there are things that we can do. You can get shungite stones. Anyone know what those are? They're a form of carbon. Anyone hear of Buckminster Fuller and buckyballs? Ever hear of that? They're a stone that was mined starting years ago on the border of Russia and I think Finland or something. They're a dark stone. They say they were the result of meteors or meteorites or something. And they contain a specific type of carbon that has a tendency to absorb and ameliorate and harmonize radiation of all kinds. Some people just carry these stones around in their pockets. You can buy them on the internet. Make sure you get good ones, and there's a way to determine if they're good ones. Don't just get a black stone that came out of a volcano, you know. So we need to make sure that we do that. But there's more and more companies coming up with different types of biodots that you can put on your phones. You can put them on your routers. You can put them about anywhere. You can wear wristbands that have one of these right in the middle of the wristband. You can wear pendants that have these as well. And these will help to protect you. I can't say 100%, but they will help to protect you. And we had one of these sources on our website. We'll be bringing up a new one. But if you go to our homepage and you scroll down, you'll find Dr. Elizabeth Plord, and she has a company now that sells all of these products. And I would get them if I was you. I can't tell you to get them, but if I was you, I would find some way to ameliorate this radiation. How much time I have left? Plord, P-L-O-U-R-D-E, Dr. Elizabeth Plord. She has a tremendous story, and you'll read part of her story in the book, and then there's a link where you can read the rest of it. She, you know, in California especially, and up here now too, they're putting the big new smart meters on our houses to measure our electricity. They're constantly pulsing like this, radiation. She opted out for their house. They could in LA, but the people across the street and around her got these things put on. She noticed that in a short period of time, she started to get a rash on her leg. She'd go to a doctor and say, yeah, I tried this. And it started to go up her leg. And she'd go see another doctor. And all the lotions and potions you can imagine, until it finally covered her entire body and she was miserable. The only way she could get any type of relief at all is she'd go to the beach. And she'd go to the beach and stay at the beach for a week and it would start to go away. So they determined it was the smart meter that was doing this to her. And that's why she started to investigate these things that would ameliorate radiation, and then started her own company with these things. So a lot of the problems that we have today are caused by radiation in different forms. Ladies, every time you get a mammogram, your chance of getting breast cancer goes up 10%, and it's accumulative. So that you know. Thermography is the only thing I would do. And it's much less expensive, and it will tell you 8 years faster than a mammogram will if there's something going on in your breast or anywhere in your body, because it's infrared imaging and it measures heat in your body. When cancer starts to form, you need 4 billion cancer cells to make a tiny little tumor in your breast. You need 4 billion before a mammogram can detect it. And it could be growing for 8 years. That's not early detection. Thermography can tell because cancer puts out heat when it's starting to form, and when it does that, it needs to get a source of food, so it starts creating new blood vessels. That causes a lot of heat, thermogenesis. And so thermograms can tell you 8 years prior to a mammogram if there's something wrong or something starting to go wrong. It won't say specifically that you have breast cancer, but then you can do other things and figure out what route that you're going to take. Thermography, way better. Men too. I've had thermography done from the top of my head to my waist and on all sides. And it costs, depending on where you are, it could cost $175, it could cost $250. It's a great investment, and I would consider it, everyone. How are we on time? Huh?
We have about 40 minutes.
Lots of time. Oh, I've got about 8 hours of stuff left. There are so many different things I could talk to you about today, but I want to kind of just hit some highlights and some things like I was talking about, change one thing. I want to give you some more items that I believe help people tremendously, whether you have cancer or not. But first, I want to hit again on the 5 things. What is the protocol I would do if I had cancer? First, I would eat the right diet. Diet is fundamental. We have fundamentals of nutrition that are the building blocks of our bodies. Diet is essential. Has to be the right diet. In the book, I cover what I would eat, what I wouldn't eat, what kind of diets I would look at. I know there's a lot going on about the keto diet right now. I did the keto diet for 9 days, and I lost 6 or 7 pounds when I did it in those days. But if I like to try everything before I comment on it, because I want to see how it's going to affect me, or if it will at all. And I did just the open meat and oil keto diet, and it seemed to work for me on the weight loss thing, but I didn't feel that great. But I only did it for 9 days, and I thought, I was okay. But a lot of people say, I got tons of energy. I didn't get any energy at all, none. But if I were to do a keto diet again, I would do more of a vegan or vegetarian type of keto diet. It's the best one. You just need to make sure you get the right amount, 70-75% good fats, 10 to 15% good proteins, and very few, 5 to 10% carbohydrates, and get good carbohydrates. Of course, you need a big salad, and if it's a good salad, it's not going to have many carbs in it, but it's going to have good carbs in it. So there's a lot of things to eat, but I would make it that, because that's the one that's going to give you the energy, I'm pretty sure. So, but diet is fundamental. Number 2, I would drink something called this. I'm going to go over that in just a minute. 3, I would take the supplement called Relive. And that's because we have thousands of testimonies on people who had cancer and all other sicknesses who took this product. And many of them, it was the only thing they changed in their lives, and they became well. I'm not saying it heals anything. I can't say that. The company is called Relive, R-E-L-I-V. They have about 15 different products. I like 2 products. The first 2 for cancer patients are called the Now, N-O-W, and it's in the book, and the Luna Rich X. The Now comes as a powder in a can. The best way to get your supplementation, because it's ready to go. It's bioavailable to the body right away, and it's full of nutrition. That's why it works so well. The Luna Rich X is an epigenetic product that comes in a capsule, a powder in a capsule. You can open that and pour it into the now that you're taking. Take it in 8 ounces of Kangen water or freshly juiced juice, and it's just an amazing thing. I must tell you that we are researching right now another company that is making a supplement specific for you and for you and for you. In other words, this will be a supplement created for no one else but you, based on you doing a swab, them giving them your DNA, and them looking at 18 different genes, 16 different genes, 18 different SNPs, so single nucleotides I told you about a little earlier. And they can generate from that a baseline fundamental nutrition that you can utilize that is specific for you based on them reading your DNA. And that doesn't mean they're changing your genes, because we said your genes are carved in stone. But you know, and you've heard that you can upregulate genes or downregulate genes. And these SNPs that they're testing are not bad necessarily, they're just different. And so they're testing this and looking at it, and after looking at all of this in your specific profile, they have 400 million different combinations of nutrients that they can put into a monthly supply for you every month that is based on you alone. We'll talk more about that later. If you're interested in that, send me an email. My email, if you want to reach me directly, is info@americanaci.org. info@americanaci.org. And that comes to me directly. So if you have a question, if you want to set up a phone call because you've got a precarious situation or cancer or something that you want to talk about, we can do that as well, and it won't cost you anything. Although I'm going on vacation next Thursday, so I'll be in the deep woods for about 3 weeks, so wait till after that, all right? Okay. So you need the right food, the right diet. We need the right water, I'm going to talk about in a minute. We need the right supplementation. We need to detox. And I told you in chapter 9 of the book, I talk about PIO. There's many ways to detox. We need to understand that this will detox us to a degree. The right food will detox us. The right supplements will detox us to a degree. But if you want to start a fire in your body to detox to the cellular level, read chapter 9 about PIO, precision intestinal oxidative hydrotoning. The downside is it's only done 2 places in the world now. One is Sitka, Alaska. I know you're going to get in your car and go up there. And the other one is Denver, Colorado, although I think it's going to be available in Vancouver, British Columbia soon. I've had 37 of these sessions, one of the best things I've ever done. And I told you what happened to Nick when he came out of the PIO sessions. Of course, he was doing everything else right, too. This was a kid that was almost dead. And it helps tremendously. The guy who invented it, Dirk Yao, has a notebook this thick of testimonials of people who just did PIO for cancer, for Lyme disease, for Hep C, for about everything you can imagine. And they were well. I'm not saying PIO cured them. I can't say that. I'll let you read between the lines there.
Can you say those letters again?
PIOH is in Henry. Precision intestinal oxidative hydrotoning. It starts out looking like colonic hydrotherapy. But that's where it changes, because you can go a lot of places and get colonic hydrotherapy today. Some of them involve shutting you in a room and locking the door with a garden hose. You don't want that one. I've heard of that, actually. Sorry about that. But there's a lot of people that do colonic hydrotherapy, and some of it is good and it helps you. And those of you who've had it done will know that. But there's nothing like this, because he uses a specialized water. And no, it's not Kangen water. It's a water that he produces himself, where he actually even aligns the molecules. And he says, this is what I use, and this is one of the secrets. He also uses ozone. Ozone is the thing that really starts the fire in you. And you can actually watch this while you're going through it. He has a special piece of equipment. It's about this big. It has a, you know those big bulbs in the lights that are about that long and about this thick? He has a bulb that goes through his machine. and you can actually see what comes out of you. It's not too appetizing, but he can tell you, look at the color. That's mercury. That's cadmium. See that speck? That's cadmium. And he can tell you what's coming out. Lymph colonies, all of this stuff. Dead red blood cells that purges your liver. It's amazing what stays in your liver. It's your main detox organ, right? Yeah. If you have not detoxed your liver ever, I wonder what's in there. Let me tell you what's in there. You ready? Dirk working on a guy who had spent a lot of time in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco in the 60s. Did a lot of LSD. Everybody know what LSD is? Yeah. Well, this guy came in to have a PIO session. And this was 40 years later. And when he purged the first time, he went on a 1-minute trip, LSD trip, because it had purged LSD out of his liver that had been there for 40 years. So imagine what is the possibility of certain things being in your liver. Have you ever purged your liver? You know, if you do a coffee enema, a lot of cancer patients do coffee enemas because they're trying to stimulate that hepatic portal that goes from the liver to the colon. And they're trying to purge that liver once. And of course, they're trying to do some colon cleansing too. But if they get one liver purge, it's a good thing. It's a victory. And I can tell you that I've had in excess of 15 liver purges in one PIO session. One. And I've had 37 PIO sessions. And after 37 PIO sessions, I still had stuff coming out of my liver. But you're always going to have stuff coming out of your liver because it is constantly trying to detox things that come to it. So you see a lot of dead red blood cells that come out of your liver and lymph colonies and other things. So anyway, so I highly recommend PIO. We know people come from all over North America to spend a week or two with Dirk Yao. If you're strong, you can do 2 sessions a day. If you're very, very weak, you can probably only do 1. And if you're very weak, maybe you can't even do ozone the first day. And he's very careful. He only gives you as much as you can handle. But I'll tell you, there's nothing like this. Nothing like it. I know it's not expensive for what you get at all. But you're looking at close to $300 a session, an hour-and-a-half session. And if you get many more than one, then you can get discounts as well. Again, a lot of people I work with, I recommend this to them, or recommend this is what I would do. And they go up for 2 weeks, stay in a hotel, take a vacation, and have this done. And it helps them immeasurably. So detox, and the last one is exercise. Of course, if you've got stage 4 cancer and you're very weak, you're not going to exercise, nor should you. But if you can exercise, you should. And that's what works for you. I don't recommend swimming in a chlorinated pool, however, because you're going to suck all that chlorine up. Not a good thing. Swimming is a good activity. If you can find a place to swim that's not chlorinated. They've got new pools. If you ever consider buying a swimming pool, they've got new technology called copper ionization. Copper ionization. That's not in the book, so if you're interested, write it down. And it's a way that, there's many ways to basically purify a swimming pool. You can do it with sodium chlorite. You can do it with ozone. You can do it with hydrogen peroxide. But we choose to use chlorine. Why? Cheapest. Chlorine. Cheapest. Not good for us. So that's what we should do if we're going to swim. I'm still a runner at my age. Still a runner. And I walk a lot as well, but I run, and I also do whole body vibration. You guys remember the ads in the 60s of the women with this big belt around their rear end, and they're shaking like crazy? There was a method to that madness, but there's a much better way to do it. There are machines now that kind of look like running machines, but they're shorter. They have a base, and of course you have all your instrumentation up here. You can hold on if you like. They're whole body vibration machines. They will, the plate you stand on will oscillate to the side at such and such a rate, and it will run from probably 5 hertz all the way up to 60 hertz. So you can really get shaken if you're at 40 to 60 hertz.
Bob, someone from last name?
Dirk's name is just Dirk, D-I-R-K. His last name is Yow, Y-O-W. Now, Dirk won't mind. I'm going to give you his email and his phone number. His phone number is 206-459-0102. 206-459-0102. His email address is Heron, H-E-R-O-N, dot hygiene, H-Y-G-I-E-N-E, at gmail.com. Yeah, and contact Dirk if you're interested. And he's doing an event in early June up in Vancouver, for those of you who could get up there. And he's considering opening up with some doctors in Vancouver, South Vancouver. I highly recommend those. Whole body vibration. I have 2 of these machines. I lend one out to my pastor, but the other one I use quite frequently, and I get on it, and I even do push-ups on it when it's going at 30 hertz. So it's really shaking. And imagine, if you would, we talk about getting oxygen into the cells, getting hydrogen into the cells, getting these antioxidants into the cells and having the cells breathe, getting our blood moving so the good stuff can go into the cells and all the waste can come back out. We know the importance of this. Think about being on one of this machine, and if you've got it set at 30 hertz, you're basically shaking 30 times a second. So each cell in your body is breathing. It's breathing and it's opening and closing. And all of your muscles are vibrating at 30 hertz too, 30 times a second. All of your tendons, all of your joints, all of your ligaments, everything is vibrating at that rate. You think that's good for you? This was invented originally by the Russians, whole body vibration, because astronauts go into space. What happens? They lose muscle tone, right? Because they're in a weightless type situation and they start wasting a little bit, especially their muscles. So the Russians invented this so these guys would come back, and this would help. It would help build bones, it would help build muscles and strengthen tendons, and it just helped them immeasurably. So it started with that, and then it morphed over time, just like we talk about ionized water. It didn't start where it is now, it morphed over time to get there. But then it was perfected. And so this has been pretty much perfected in these machines now. And you'll find one. Again, we don't sell them, but they're on our site. We found what we like. The stuff that we put on our site in our store, our non-selling store kind of, are the best things that we can find. And so you won't find everything yet on our store because we're still building it. Like the blue ice isn't there right now, but it's in the book. So you can find the sources. So, but if you like to run, you like to walk, you like to, lift weights. How many lift weights here? How many are going to start lifting weights? Come on, everyone. And here's the reason I tell you this. Not so you can bulk up, but the only exercise that you can do that takes sugar out of the blood without the use of insulin is weightlifting. So everyone who is a pre-diabetic or a diabetic should be lifting weights, and it will reduce the amount of insulin you have to take. But here's the thing: you got type 2 diabetes? Send me an email if you don't want to have type 2 diabetes in about 120 days to 6 months. Because we're told when you have adult onset diabetes, that you're told by the doctor, you say, well, I got good news and bad news. Bad news is you've got diabetes. Good news is we can help you manage it. Those are both bad news as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to manage it. I want to get rid of it. And you can, in most instances, if you know what to do. And one of those things is lifting weights. And there's a book out there called The Slow Burn Fitness Revolution. If you Google that, you'll find it on Amazon. Slow Burn Fitness Revolution. It shows you the right methodology to lift weights. And you can do it at home. You can do it at home with milk jugs or different things you can find at home, or you can do it in a gym. Here's an example of what you would do. Say you're doing a curl. This is a curl. And you had a barbell and you're doing a curl, or dumbbells in each hand. it's called slow burn for a reason. What you're trying to do is take the muscle group you are working in 12 different exercises to failure. Because when your muscle group goes to failure, it immediately responds and it says, we can't fail again. And it starts sending out signals, and it produces a cascading effect in your body that starts feeding those muscles. And it lasts for 4 to 7 days. So you don't have to lift weights every day. But you start, and you do it on a cycle of, like, say, 10 beats. And so you go 1,001, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the point. Till you get about here. You don't go all the way to here. You get to about here. And then you hit 10. Then you go 1,001, 2, 3. You know how hard that is? You're not going to use the heaviest weight. You're going to use a weight where you can do at least 3 reps, but not more than 5. That's all. But you want to take that muscle group to failure to when you get on, let's say the 4th one, you finish the 4th one and you're going, and you just cannot raise it. Okay? That's what you want to get to. And when you're doing all the other exercises, whether you're doing military press, bench press, all of these, it tells you how to do them. And so you don't have to use real heavy weights. You just need to take that muscle group to failure. And then you do it once or twice a week. And it helps immeasurably, I can tell you. And it's easy. Maybe that's one thing that you're going to change. So these are the 5 things. 5 things you can do. Here's another thing. When you get my age, the doctors want to get you on blood thinners, regardless of your condition, because they think you're going to have a stroke, right? Or you might be a person that, because you have AFib or you have something going on, doctors are worried about you having a stroke, so they have you on blood thinners. Here's one thing that you can do. If you give blood, say 3 times to 4 times a year, it will reduce your chance of stroke by 70%. Because it thins your blood, you know that, and by thinning your blood, it's also going to allow your blood will rebuild, of course, every 8 weeks, but it'll allow it to make those turns without forming clots, and so it just gives you a great reduction in the opportunity for a stroke, the bad opportunity for a stroke. Yes?
What about like giving platelets? Would that make a difference? Or is that
It's not exactly the same thing. It's okay to give platelets too. It's a different thing, as you know. You've done it. So for those of you who don't know, when you give blood, they just stick it in you and they pull out a pint or whatever they're pulling out. When you do platelets, it's like you're on a machine where you're doing dialysis, where it's running your blood out and through and pulling out the platelets and then putting your blood back is how it's done. And it takes, how much time does it take when you do that? It doesn't take that much time, I don't think.
I can watch a full movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it depends on the hydration.
Yeah. Could depend on that too, yeah. Okay.
Sometimes an hour and a half.
I've never given platelets. I've given a lot of blood, but never platelets.
Both.
I used to
Take
do
turns.
it, and mostly men always took longer than women. Would be out like within 45
Those dang
minutes.
men. They're the most dehydrated, right? Yeah, men don't drink water. They don't take directions. No, that's what we do, or don't do. Excuse me a second while I have a drink of 7-Up.
I know that's not true.
Congo.
How much is your book? And can we buy those there?
I tell you, when I wrote was the first or second edition, it was about a year later, I saw a signed copy of it up on eBay for $500. And I said, well, gee, it's $22.95. I think if I signed it, it might be worth 10 more cents. No, I don't think it's sold. I don't know who was trying to sell it. But I don't know. You have to ask Amanda, because she has already procured these books right here. So
They're $22.95.
$22.95. Yeah, that's the list price on the back of them. Okay, we covered strokes. Okay, let's see. I'm down to 99 things left to go here.
What if they are type 2 diabetic and already are on insulin?
It's okay, but you should always, you never quit a drug. You never say, I'm gonna do this because Bob said this, so I'm gonna quit this and start this. Don't ever do that. Always consult with a physician. But if you're on, like my dad was on 24 different drugs a year before he died. He had kidney cancer, he had a kidney removed, and the cancer worked to his other one over 16 years. He was tortured for 16 years. I told you my mom went in 1 week, he went in 16 years. So I saw both ends of the spectrum. And you know what? Here's what really affected me, and many of you might have had this too. I held my mother's head in my hands when she took her last breath. I was in my dad's bedroom at 4:02 in the morning watching him because I knew he was dying when he took his last breath. You know, it doesn't make me special, but it changed me. It really changed me because I wanted to find out what this was all about. And that's why I'm driven to do what I do. But and now I've lost the question.
Well, I just wanted to see if they
Oh,
still
the
have
drugs.
a fighting chance if
Yeah.
they're type 2 diabetic already on insulin.
Oh, sure.
And
Sure, absolutely. But again, I would do the thing slowly, and if it was me, I have a certain protocol that I would follow. And if you're interested in that or know someone who is, they can ask me, they can send me an email. What's the diabetes protocol? But always, everyone should be cautioned. I don't give medical advice, and I forgot to give my disclaimer before I started. Shame on me. Anyone here from the FDA?
We all are.
You know, I've been told that the picture on my third edition of the book on the back, everyone thought I looked like an FBI agent or something, you know. But they actually have to say, if they come to one of these meetings, this is more of a private meeting, so I wasn't that worried about it, but I don't give medical advice, I don't treat people, I don't tell them what to do. I simply say, if it was me and I had exactly what you do, this is what I would do. And generally, in most instances, I have full confidence that this would change things for me. And I could say another word, but I'm not going to. When I mean change things for me. Get the gist of that? I would get well, in other words. And I firmly believe that because we see it all the time. We see people actually get well. It's hard for people to believe. You mean you can take this 5-step protocol. There's some other things. You need to take the vitamin D3, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Turmeric. Turmeric, one of the most anti-cancer foods on the face of the earth and anti-everything else. Turmeric. But turmeric is an odd duck. And what I mean by that is, if you don't take it right, it's not going to do you any good. And it can fight you. So if you're just going to take the turmeric, and we're looking generally for the curcumin in the turmeric, although there's a lot of other good things in turmeric at the same time, and it looks yellow and you pour it on your food and you go, all right, I'm doing it. If there's no fat in that food, that's not doing you any good. Because turmeric is fat soluble. You need to take it with good fats. Do you have some of the Ucan? Oh, Ucan. If you look at this, we really like this. And we like it because it's got fats already in it. And it makes it at least 10 times more bioavailable and efficacious in the body. And it's made perfectly. It's made with Kangen water. It's made with the spring and fall turmeric out on Okinawa. This is what I take. I take some other turmeric as well, but this is one of the best by far, and you need to know that. But I would also do one other thing. Although this has the oils in it, you know what will supercharge it? Still, taking this one, take it with a meal. You don't have to take it with a meal, but if you do, add just a little of black pepper. Because black pepper has something in it. 5% of turmeric is curcumin. 5% of black pepper is piperine. Piperine acts with a curcumin to make it 1,000 times more bioavailable and efficacious in the body. So if you want to supercharge your Ucan, which is already, it's ready to go, have a little piperine or black pepper with it. It's one of the best things you can take. There are so many studies done on turmeric that it's amazing, and clinical studies too. It is so good for you that no matter what you have, unless you have an allergy, I haven't ever heard of someone being allergic to curcumin or turmeric. Could happen, but take this. You don't take anything else. Take this. Get the turmeric in your body. Oh, well, you need to get this in your body too. We talked about the Relive. I want to talk about this. I've drunk Kangen water for, how many here drink Kangen water? Okay, I'm done.
He needs to know.
You know, I have drunk it for at least 10 years, 10 or 11 years now. I've had a machine on my counter. I wouldn't be without it. And again, no one pays me to say that. Not even Amanda. She didn't even pay me to say that. Doggone it. Well, yes, she did. She bought books. Yeah, lots of them. Buys a lot of books. But I'm thankful for that, and we have a lot of people that do that and get the books out into the hands of the people that need them. Everyone needs this book. I firmly believe that. And it's not so I can sell more books. I gave this book to the AACI. I don't profit from this book. Our nonprofit does. And that has really kept us going. And it's translated into Chinese. It's translated into the Indonesian language now, and we're working on several other languages too. So it's ready. But no one pays me to hawk Kangen water. I don't sell Kangen water machines. The Enagic company doesn't call me up and say, come on, sell more of our machines. I know the people that run the company, but I don't do Enagic events. I mean by Super Saturdays or things like this that are sponsored Enagic events. I do private events. I do a lot of events that a lot of Kangen water people are involved in. And I do it because I believe in it. What's the number one thing we tell cancer patients to do? No, we don't tell them to do anything. The number one thing that we recommend that we would do if we had cancer like someone, gotta be careful with this stuff, is Kangen water. Well, we recommend the Relive too, but the Kangen water, because I do it because I researched it and I know the science behind it. And I know that if you guys are Kangen water drinkers, Kangen water distributors, you probably have a good grasp on the science behind this. That's the reason. I remember the first Kangen water meeting I went to about 11 years ago because I was trying to find what cancer patients could drink. As I walk into the grocery store and Gatorade, mineral water, bottled water, V8, full of chemicals, all of this stuff. I said, well, there's nothing here they can drink. I'm going to have to go find myself a spring, and bottle of water myself. And that's when someone said, you need to go listen to this. I go, okay, here's another one. And I did. I went and listened to it. And I said, wow. So I started to study it. I didn't buy a machine right away. I said, this is pretty interesting. I'm going to go take a look at this. And I research about everything. As if I wouldn't do it, I couldn't recommend that you do it. And so we do a lot of research. And I wanted to find out, why is this water good? You can tell me it's alkaline water, but you know what? I can put a spoonful or a quarter teaspoonful of baking soda in tap water and I got alkaline water. Doesn't mean it's any good for you. No, this is ionized water. It just happens to be alkaline. And, put your arms around this, you'll read it in the book. Healing is voltage, and voltage is equitable to pH and to alkalinity. And so we need to understand that. And your cells in your body are negatively charged, or they're supposed to be. And if they're not running at minus 25 to minus 50 millivolts, you're sick. And cancer patients and many others are running below that. So your body running at that voltage has very little capacity to build new cells or to heal those cells that are now sick. So what do we need to do? Raise the millivoltage. How would you raise a cell that needs 25 more millivolts? What's the fastest way to do that? It used to be eating organic vegetables because they're very high in pH and they're loaded with nutrients. But because of that pH, it's the best way, doing a lot of those, to raise your cell voltage and to raise the pH of your body. Your blood's always going to stay at the same pH because if it doesn't, you're going to die. So your blood, if it's not at about 7.35, somewhere in that range to 7.4, then you're going to die. So it'll rob pH from anywhere. It'll take it from your bones and from anywhere to maintain that. Why do we have osteoporosis? Our body starts to break down. So we need to raise that cell voltage. The best way in the world now to raise cell voltage is this. Can you imagine if this is running at minus 600 to minus 800, some don't get quite that high millivolts, Isn't that the best way if you're pouring that in your body to raise that cell voltage? It is by far. I mean, we learned about this from the Hunsakat people at the base of the Hindu Kush in the Himalayas. They drank glacier milk. What is glacier milk? And I know this to be true, if you went into a Hunsakat village up in the north of Pakistan, up in the mountains at 10,000 feet, and you got invited into the guy who runs the community, into his hut, he'd set 2 glasses of water in front of you. One would be clear, one would be gray and cloudy. Which one would you drink?
Gray and cloudy.
Gray and cloudy. That's the one I would drink. Why? Because it's ionized water. It's alkaline ionized water. What do you need to ionize water? You need minerals and you need power and water in the water. What happens when this pure water crashes down, when the snow melts, coming down the streams, down the mountains, under power, because it's rushing down the streams, it's picking up the minerals out of the sand and the rocks in the base. And so when the water reaches here, yeah, it's a little gray and cloudy, but it's very high alkaline, and it's running a high ORP, high negative ORP, because it's been ionized. That is the technology behind this in its simplest form. So the fastest way to bring up that cell voltage is by drinking Kangen water, by far. I've seen nothing else that remotely comes close. And I get people all the time saying, I have this machine, I know it's every bit as good, and it costs half the price. And I have to say, oh, really? Prove it. I have said, and I've gone on record, when someone shows me a machine that's as good as this one, I'll advertise it too. I've been saying that for 10 years. And there's not one. If there is, fine. I tell people to use it, but I have not found one that can compete. And I call it in the book the Rolls Royce of water ionizers. And everyone wants to compare their machine to this one. Ours does what theirs does for half the price. Well, no, it doesn't. We've run into several machines, and people have said that actually harm people because the plates begin to break down. And they've actually poisoned people. I don't want one of those machines. So, and you only need one of them. I mean, you can have more if you like. And some people have them all over the place because it works. What it does works. That high pH is the way to bring that cell voltage up. But it's also the way in that process to bring an acidic body, an inflamed body, back to alkaline. Remember that newborn baby? We want to smell like that again. That's what we want to be. And in order to do that, we need to do the things that allow us to get there. That's all the 5 things that we covered, but we need to drink this water. Now, I've seen people go to a Kangen water meeting. All the while they're watching the demo, they're drinking Kangen water. Some of them will drink a half a gallon or more while they're sitting there. Next day you call them up, how you doing? Sick as a dog, I'm never drinking that water again. I say, good. They don't understand the detox that goes on. So many people are so toxic, we talked about our livers and all, so toxic that when you start pouring good stuff in there, your body starts to detox immediately. And if you detox too fast, we call it a Herxheimer reaction. Your body reacts. And you could be nauseous, you could be headachy, you could be lethargic. All of these things could take place, and they do if you try and detox too rapidly. That's why generally, depending on the person, some people can just drink the 9.5 right out of the chute, 9.5 pH. Other people, they got to start low at the 8.5 and work their way up. What about the 11.5? What do you think? Magic Company says don't drink it. Just watch your vegetables in it, right? Well, you should do that. First time I did that, I went, what? I put all my vegetables that I just bought at the store in a big sink full of 11.5 pH water, and I left it there for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I came back and I pulled them all out and I looked at the water and I said, what's that? Somebody pee in the water? It was dark yellow. Those were all the pesticides and herbicides that came off the produce. Wow. Did I say something? Oh, okay.
So is it okay to drink a lot of the L5, 1.5?
I was getting there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, good. I'm
I
glad.
was,
Yeah.
it's like someone told me, oh, you can't do that.
Yeah, I had to leave you in suspense because a lot of people say, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not going to tell you to drink the 11.5 water, okay? Would I drink it? Oh, absolutely. And I have. I've drunk a lot of it. And we have seen that this is what often turns late-stage cancer patients. Because we're rebuilding the cells. Remember, we're lifting that cell voltage. We're alkalinizing an acidic body. We're pouring this water that doesn't stay in your stomach. It zooms out as fast as it can. It probably starts absorbing in your mouth and in your throat into the cells. It's because of that low rate of cells glomming onto each other. And it reduces the rouleau in your blood. Anyone know what that is? You ever see a picture of someone's blood where all the red blood cells start sticking together? They don't function as well. They don't carry oxygen as well. And you struggle and suffer with that. Gee, I've seen pictures of after people drank Kangen water, and guess what? The cells separate. Especially the 11.5. They separate. Well, what happens when you put 11.5 into fats, into oils? Doesn't it emulsify those oils? So it makes sense that to the rouleau in your blood, it will separate those cells that want to stick together, and it will better oxygenate your body. I mean, there's so many things, so many benefits, let's say, of drinking this water, and I can't think of a reason not to. I can only think of more and more reasons. But to go further on the answer to the question on the 11.5, no, we don't recommend anyone drink it. We just say that, well, if I was in your situation, this is what I would do. And if I was a stage 3 or stage 4 cancer patient, I'd be drinking it. And Louise taught me this. I'm not going to tell you her last name. Louise was a lady in her 70s who went to her chiropractor and said, well, doc, this is the last time I'm going to get to see you. And he says, well, why? He says, well, I've just been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And the doctor gave me a maximum of 90 days, and he told me to get my affairs in order. And he says, oh, gee, I'm sorry for that. I wish you to come and see me earlier about this. And she says, why? He says, well, I've got some water I want you to try. And she says, well, I don't know. I guess I got nothing to lose. I will. So she started drinking the 9.5 water and started to feel a little bit better. And she says, is this the strongest stuff you got? He says, well, no, we have the 11.5, but no one recommends that you drink that. That's for da-da-da-da-da. And she says, I got 90 days to live. What do I have to lose?
You're going to kill me?
She started drinking a gallon a day. 120 days, there was no cancer in her body. Her son had called her during that period saying he had just returned from the doctor. He had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Doctor says, I'm going to die. I verified these stories, incidentally. These aren't just old myths. And she says, hold it. Hold where you are. I'm coming down to see you. And he was in Southern California. She packed up her machine. She went down to Southern California. They both drank the water. 90 days, he was back to work. No cancer in his body. So, no, I'm not going to tell you to drink this water. I'm going to tell you that I would. And if I were a stage 3 or stage 4 cancer patient, I would drink it, and I would drink lots of it. Normally, what we say is start out slowly, starting with, if you're up to the 9.5 and drinking a lot of 9.5, you want to get more and more as you can, then start drinking about 4 ounces 3 times a day of the 11.5, and the rest in 9.5. And then every 2 or 3 days, these are for people who are worried about Herxheimer's or detox reactions. And when you have stage 3 or 4 cancer patients, they're very sick and very toxic. And so we try and start them more slowly. If there's a Herxheimer reaction, we'll back off a little bit, but we'll increase by another 4 ounces about every 2 or 3 days, or whatever can be tolerated, until we get to drinking all 11.5 all day. And if you can get to a gallon, it's better. If you can't get to what you can get to, do it for 90 days. And then in 90 days, we revisit it. We've never seen anyone harmed by taking something this high a pH. 11.5 is a high pH because it is 100 times more alkaline than the 9.5 water. But I have seen cancer patients use cesium chloride. Cesium is a mineral, and this isn't the radioactive cesium.